Hello everyone, welcome to an OpenVic2 project update and discussion stream with several members of the team. Hi, welcome chat, welcome everyone. Hope everyone is doing well and having a good week. Welcome to yet another OpenVic2 thing. Oh damn, I forgot I had the stream open. Hi. Yep, taking people off guard. Your voice isn't so terrible this week. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. My voice is back. All the haters could watch last week's stream, but they have to turn off again because I'm back for this one. I'm doing good, Damascus, thanks. Hello everyone. So yeah, on the last stream, we had that whole funny thing about my voice not being there, but let's not dwell on the past because we're here and we're back. Today we're going to give you an update on several topics. I'll get to that in the intro when I introduce the members of this stream who are going to chat with me. My quick personal intro before we go. You can support me and my channel through super chats and whatnot. That is for this channel. It's not for the OpenVic2 project itself, which takes no money or anything. So you can all make your own decisions based on that. Just keep that in mind. OpenVic2 confirmed. Yes, my dev diary. There's no dev diary this time, actually. There's no dev diary. This is just an update stream, and we're going to give loads of information anyway. Don't worry about that. So I think without further ado, I can move over to... Hold on a sec. Get these people here. All right. We now have a panel of 4 distinguished guests. Welcome. Welcome to you all. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. All right. Well, that was good. I'll see you all for the next stream. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, pack her up.
Okay. So yeah, we've got 4 great people here from the OpenVic2 team who haven't been on a stream before. I also am not joined by Catalyst this time. He's not here. He can't make it. He's dereliction of duty. We will be seriously reconsidering his position on the project. I'm joking. So it's just me in terms of the hosting and the co-hosting because he's the community manager. Anyway, welcome. Who wants to introduce themselves first?
If it's all right, I'll...
Don't all go at once.
Yes. I'll kick us off. So I'm ZincLadder, and I'm the lead developer for OpenVic2. If anyone's wondering, Spartan's still on the project. He just decided to step back from a bit of the leadership stuff. He's been doing some very good work, which you'll be have the pleasure of seeing a bit later in the stream. In my day job, I'm a developer in the automotive industry and have a formal education in computer science. I'm a big fan of science fiction and fantasy, and like many others here, I have a hobbyist interest in history, and I was introduced to the map game genre at the tail end of EU3. So that's a bit about me.
When was EU3 again? The tail end of that would be...
Oh, I think...
we'll get back to you on that. We'll reveal it at the end of the stream. Oh, sorry.
Yes, yeah. Stay tuned.
Sorry.
Stay tuned. Remember to like and watch to the end of the video.
We'll get back to you in the question and answer set. Okay, so who wants to go next?
I don't mind going next.
Orwellian, hello, welcome.
Hello, yeah, hi. I'm a South African uni student in my last year of computer science. I got into map games with Hoi 4, with Bocoen, unfortunately, but I was saved when I found your Moscow series actually spot gun.
Okay.
And that's what got me into Vic2. I've got an interest in economics, history, and programming. So when I saw that video, the OpenVic2, I'm like, no chance in hell I'm missing this. I have to get involved. And I've just been helping out wherever I can since then. I've been doing a small little bit of stuff while I get familiar with everything. But yeah, no, that's what I'm doing at the moment. Just
all right,
stuff.
Great, thanks. Great to have you on board with this whole thing. Youri, you also said something there, so go ahead.
Thanks.
Yeah, okay, so my name is Youri. I'm a fresh computer science master graduate. Just recently started working in web development. I'm from the Netherlands, and yeah, in the project I am currently making a website. I've been working on requirements, and somehow I've found myself in the position of like kind of managing or moderating the expansion or diversions from Victoria 2.
You've got 2 whole sections for yourself, actually, in a way, for this stream. But last but not least, hello, Jen.
Hi. I'm JunkJen, or well, I prefer Jenny if you just call me by my name. I am a digital artist, and that's what I do for OpenVic2. I am the lead artist / art director for Territory Control 2, which is a economical conquest sandbox game. It's kind of hard to describe in a single sentence. But it has similar aspects to Victoria 2, like the economic system and such. I found out about this project because I'm a big Spud Gun fan, and I don't even play any map games, but I really like watching his videos. And I reached out. I thought, oh, I can do art, and they picked me up. So I do the UI art predominantly at the moment.
We've already seen some great stuff. If you've actually watched some of the past discussions, we've already seen a lot of your resource icons, and we've mentioned you plenty of times as well already. So, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that's about it for the intros. We will... What's the first topic again? Oh yeah, it's the website. We've already got one of Youri's specials coming right up. The first topic is... Okay, so OpenVic2, the project, has a website that's coming together. A website is obviously a great thing for the project, a great way to organize things, have it out public facing. What's going on with the website, Youri?
Yeah, okay. So currently there is a website up, openvic2.com. But currently it's kind of a very simple website. It's just a single web page that hosts the most recent dev diary PDF file. But more is in the works. What I'm planning on eventually the website being is some sort of a collection of all of the dev diaries, which can be categorized, and each dev diary will be a single post which has the like kind of announcement text, a title, and it will have a number of files, which will probably most often be a single PDF file which contains the actual dev diary. But eventually, once we get to the point that releases for the game are going to be coming out, I also plan on hosting and kind of providing download links there, perhaps automatically generated for the game. Frequently asked questions will probably also be on there. But so far, there's not really much down yet.
Yeah, so it's not really much of an actual website yet. It's just like you just said, hosts the most recent dev diary, which, by the way, there isn't one for this to coincide with this stream. But obviously, a large amount of the hard work was actually getting that website up and hosting it and doing all that stuff, getting it there in the first place. That's one of the hurdles and one of the things you have to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So getting it up. A very basic way was very easy actually. I just hosted it on Azure. That was easy enough, but getting the actual custom domain to work, that was a bit of a hassle, and hooking up the Google Analytics was also kind of tricky. But now everything is working, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it is right now with the amount of work I put in.
Amazing. We have the link for it in the description if you want to go back and read Dev Diary number 2. So, I mean, it's there. And I was going to say, oh yeah, no one else already had the domain name openvic2.com, right?
No, we just
so that was
just open for grabs, up for grabs for us.
Yeah, very lucky we got away with that one.
Exactly.
And is there anything? Any more thoughts on the website? Anyone else? What have you got? Anyone want to say anything about the website?
Just that in the future, that's probably going to be a place to go, as Youri said, for download links and builds. and we're looking forward to it. Its continued development to blossom into a fully featured website.
Absolutely. In a sense, the community Discord right now is, in a sense, a sort of website where you would have had things that used to be on websites. Like
Yes.
you've got essentially a forum and download links, latest update feeds for the project's GitHub. So that's just a reminder of the community Discord. Someone say something about that while I link it in the chat again. Hold on.
Yeah, so the community Discord is sort of the main point of contact where we've got tons of people, both just people who are generally interested as well as all the team members in there. We monitor the suggestions forum quite closely, as Youri will fill us in a bit later in the stream. And that's just kind of where we hold our discussions, as well as if you're interested in becoming a contributor, you can go and fill out the contributor form in the information channel.
It's interesting, someone just sort of said that websites are obsolete with Discord, which isn't fully the case, but it was sort of what I was getting at a little tiny bit, in a way, but not really, because Discord is an app that many people don't have, whereas, you know, if you know about this game, you're already going to have a computer with a browser. So, I mean, we cover more people.
Different tools.
It's obviously necessary and important to have a website for this project, if it's a real project.
Yes. I mean, is it real if it doesn't have a website? I don't know.
So as for the community Discord there, which I posted and pinned the link to, if you've ever read the novel, what's it called? Oh yes, 1984 by a certain George Orwell, that gives you an idea. We've actually got an Orwellian in here. He knows all about the Discord.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's...
Jokes aside, hop in, come in, the water's fine. We've got a lot of very friendly people who are interested in the same things that you are if you're watching the stream.
Also, suggestions for the project, a whole forum feature for that and all sorts. It's been there for ages. Most people already know about it, so let's not go on about it too much. Is there really anything else for the website to say about?
No, not
Really
currently.
isn't. And I believe that leads us on to... I already knew, but I just need to check the document anyway. We're moving on to the art section. So Janet is about to take it away for the art section.
Right. Well, if you are you going to put my work on screen?
Oh, well, I've got it in... Wait, yeah. That's your one. Your one specifically is the first one up here.
Yeah. I
Look at
wrote
that.
down a little order on the document.
Got your resources here.
And my resources. So, you know, what I'm working on right now is I'm working on the RGO/goods at the moment. I try to kind of strike a balance between making it look similar to what was in the original Vic2 and, you know, upscaling and improving on the work. Like, for example, with machine parts, I think that's might have just been the first sprite they made and they never bothered to replace it. But that's fine. I just want to, what's the word? Not a rework. I take a little
Sort of
more
expand
creative,
on the...
Yeah, I have to expand on it to take more creative liberties to make it a clearer image. But I'd say that's generally the art direction that we're going for everything, is to make it look similar to Vic2, but more modern, more updated for modern resolutions and computer hardware, stuff like that.
Yeah, obviously these are just amazing and, you know, they're really capturing things well. And an interesting thing to point out is that what you've done with these resources is essentially a smaller version of what the whole project is, which is a recreation or a homage to what is already Victoria 2 and what's in Victoria 2, but slightly upgraded, looks better for modern systems, and a tiny little bit of creative liberty taken, you know, that sort of thing. It's a little example of the whole project right there.
Oh, well, thank you.
Don't you think, guys? Lead dev?
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. It's actually a good observation that it's you know, a bit of a microcosm of the greater whole.
Yeah.
Really
And I mean, that's pretty good as well. I just came up with that on the spot for a point. I mean, I didn't even plan that before, and that came out pretty well.
Incredible.
That's how good I am on live
Great
streams.
potato-based insights.
So, is that all about? Is that everything you want to say about your one, or do you want to move on to the next one?
I mean, well, I would like to add a little more. Like, I'm doing the RGOs, such goods, such resources, whatever. But I'm also interested in moving on to, for example, making the pop icons or stuff like that, but also with 3D work, which is mainly what Bon Marsh, I believe is his name. He's working on some very lovely 3D models, if you can put them on screen.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Yeah, I'm starting out of order.
I've got 3D models. Bon Marsh.
Yes.
That's the one. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. I haven't seen the raw files for it, but from what I can tell from the model, at least from the base raw model of just a naked guy, it looks fucking fantastic, and it's pretty well optimized, which would be great because like the game's gonna have to render hundreds of these probably. But from the looks of it, what I think is what he's going for is a rather modular model so that other artists could easily replace or change the uniforms to whatever nation that soldier belongs to. And I'm very excited to see his progress in that. That's also kind of relates more to me because I want to also expand on 3D work. And I think once Bon Marsh has finished this, then a lot of other people can continue that work. For example, well, Enigmatic has made a lot of concept art for what's the name for uniforms? Sorry, yeah, there we go.
That's an example. It's actually the Netherlands example, which is
well, Netherlands mentioned. Enigmatic has made lots and lots of fantastic concept art and references for the unit uniforms, historically accurate and everything.
Yes, I can't compliment his work enough. He's been quite the asset, and I'm sure the 3D modelers
no pun intended.
Appreciate it greatly.
Yes. Oh yeah, this is great. The 3D model, and then you can sort of imagine these unit references putting those uniforms onto the 3D model, and then you've got stacks moving around. Don't reference any other games that had any dev diaries out today.
I mean, once this model is finished, and the other 3D artists can use his references and pump out a fucking metric shitload of uniforms. So that is actually something that can be done very quickly once this is finished. And the other thing I was supposed to get to was Gazader 6's work, which was a lot of the UI art, which I also do.
Well,
do you have Gazader 6's work?
Yes, I'm about to show an entire the whole video of the implementation that Spartan made of Kazader's work. Sorry, and are we all ready to watch this? Here you go. Yeah. This is absolutely not a final thing in any way, but it's there. The framework, the thing's working. Look at that.
I believe this was implemented by Spartan 322.
Yes, Spartan.
Yeah, Spartan's been doing a lot of very good work on the options part of the menu as well as theming. So compliments to Spartan.
But of course, the art, the UI side of it was Kazader.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There's also a kind of gunmetal theme version if you're not too jazzed about the paper look and want a cold metallic sense to your game.
Do you have the gunmetal one? Can you put that on screen?
We do have the next version thingy. There you go.
And it's hard to appreciate it at this size, but the detail that goes into this work is absolutely amazing. Every little piece of this UI is absolutely a work of art.
Yeah, Gazader has done utterly fantastic work with the UI so far. I honestly can't wait to see what else he'll make.
I mean, yeah, it just looks great so far, and not final anyway. You know, still open to potential changes and all sorts of directions, but just great. Great to see. It's already something. I mean, a main menu screen like that is already something tangible that we can see and show as the project goes along. Because people, the average person can't read all the code that goes on behind the scenes. So we can throw a menu up and it'll please everyone's, aesthetic longing instantly.
Yes, as my fellow developers are probably sick of hearing me mention, developing a game is a lot like an iceberg in that there's a very small portion above the water that is visible to everyone, but there's a lot going on under the surface, and so this is part of the visible iceberg. Getting the menus, options, and all those other things working.
So yeah, I mean that's a great update on the artwork that's going on from all those things, the unit references, Jen's resources. There was also one more thing we actually forgot to mention, which is the new unit icons that have been made by a recent additional member to the team. The skeleton appears.
Right.
Which
I'm going to scramble to get an image of on the screen right now. Hold on. So take it away. Someone talk about that.
Shout out to Mr. Pushnov. Yeah, so the skeleton appears as a recent addition to our cadre of the art team, and among other things, he's been.
I've got the infantry asset on the screen. There you go.
Yes, some concept work in progress stuff for the unit icons. I believe this is for the regular infantry.
That is simply the unit called infantry, and obviously there is the original Victoria 2 icon, and it just looks very. It's obviously a different. This is an original asset created by the Skeleton Appears for the project, but obviously very reminiscent and similar to the original thing, and a lot. I'm getting into art, deep stuff here, but this has am I right? Way more pixels than the Victoria 2 one, because as I said, we're upgrading as well as recreating. Right, artist, right, art team.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I fell asleep. I'm just kidding.
And someone in the community Discord. I just changed that. Someone in the community Discord general chat earlier said, "Show some gameplay on the stream" or something like to that effect. And I said, "I'll get these infantry assets on the screen. I'll put a couple of them next to each other and move them around and make shooting noises, and that's us playing OpenVic2. And it's a should I make the clip about Vic? It's a better war system than Victoria 3 if I do better gameplay. Anyway, I shouldn't have said that. We're not linking those two things. This isn't about Victoria 3. Stop saying it, Spudgun.
What? Who? Yes.
Huh?
Anyway, I'm glad I got that one in, because that is just a very nice little infantry. And he also made a... Shall we show the guard as well? Let's show the guard while we're here.
Yes. Bring out the guards.
Quickly getting the guard. Do I have the guard? Yes. There's your guards. And I can blow this guard thing image up to take up most of the screen, and it's still sort of legible. That's impossible with a normal Victoria 2 icon, because I've used them many times in my videos, and they're just absolutely tiny. They got like 3 pixels in them, which is not a criticism or anything. That's just the way it was with like 13 years ago. Well, not really, but yeah, you know what I mean. I'm sure someone can get what I mean. Casder is in the chat here, by the way. And I believe that covers it for an update on the art side of the project, right?
Yeah, it should. Unless I forgot something.
Also, Tupanamba has been, apologies if I butchered the name.
Oh, yes, of course, yes.
Has been doing a lot of very good work with creating pictures for technologies and really top-notch stuff. A lot of it is, sourced organically from period pieces and pictures of these particular inventions or demonstrations of them actually working. And I think you'll all be very pleased because, as you may know, the technology pictures are not always, at least in the original Vic2, are not always kind of the most demonstrative of the thing that it's trying to signify.
Yes, absolutely. He's been doing great work sourcing new historical images for those artworks, and yeah, that's really important part of the project. Someone said something about backgrounds for the tech in the chat, like in Hoi 4. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I don't play Hoi 4. What's the backgrounds for tech in Hoi 4?
I'll have to defer to someone else since I'm not
Someone
a
said
big
they played
Hoi
Hoi 4
guy.
in the intro, didn't they?
Yes.
I actually played Hoi 4 too, and I'm pretty sure it's like how you have the tech tree. I think that's what they mean, because in Vic 2 it's just a bunch of buttons and sliders, but in
Oh,
Vic 2 it's more of a tree shape.
we're keeping it the way it is in Victoria 2 largely, just with a few changes here and there. Just the tech tree is a tech tree. It is, just rectangles going down linearly in a big box. That's the way it is.
My beloved rectangles in a big box.
Yeah.
So,
So
do you want to show some of the tech pictures? There's a
I
nice
do.
collage of them in the semi-finished assets channel.
Right, take away. Say something while I get them. Where are they? Oh yeah.
As promised.
There you go. I tagged you with a reference there, Spud. But yes,
Just
a lot
getting the.
of the work with the tech pictures has been to try and give them a consistent sort of feel and quality, so that when you're sort of scrolling through the pictures, you don't get the sense of like, oh, that this one tech is, a very small, low resolution thing, whereas some others are, you can see the pores on the general.
Some
Oh
of them
yeah.
are. Some of them are also direct recreations from the original game.
I've got them on the
Yes,
screen now.
such as Malthus, yeah.
Yeah, and Clausewitz.
Can any of us identify, remember from Tupan? This is Tupan Amba's work, by the way, sourcing these. So credit to him, absolutely amazing. Does anyone, from looking at these, I mean, from the dev side, I'm not making a random trivia for the chat. Do we remember exactly which techs any of these are? Looking at them, because he didn't list them in this particular list.
I think the rifle was for muzzle-loaded rifles, and I think we were thinking about renaming that tech to flintlock rifles or something, because it really didn't make sense.
I think some mods already do that in Vic 2. They make some change like that with the rifles tech. Because there's some inaccuracy. I can't remember, but some mods do that.
Yeah, so I think like the bottom right corner is for post-Napoleonic thought with von Clausewitz, and then the I think it's Malthusian thought from social tech, followed by I think it's army planning. I believe that's mass mobilization. Then flintlock rifles in the sort of center row.
I think top left is army professionalism.
Anyway, so I think, has some work been done on these images to sort of change the shading or do anything? Have they been changed in any way like that? I think I remember talk of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he's put a few filters over them and adjusted them.
Give a more consistent.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, that's what's in the original game anyway, and that's just some great work from him.
Yeah, damage to the pictures was also removed for some. I know.
Just briefly before we move on to the next topic, someone in the chat mentions the music, and of course there's a very extensive music team and lots of plans for that. We'll cover that. It probably is going to end up having its own stream. Catalyst is heavily involved. We'll get to that another time, and he'll have an entire dev day for that, I believe, as well. So now we move on from this topic, unless anyone has anything. Last thing, anything. No, okay. So now we move on to what is going to be just a general progress update on where the project is in terms of the coding and the behind the scenes stuff, the development. And we've got the lead dev here. No better person to tell us about that than him. Go ahead, ZincLadder, tell us everything.
Take it away. So we are drawing to the tail end of development cycle 1. And in short, it's been going very well. If you've been paying attention to the GitHub channel on the community server, you can see that there's a veritable Cambrian explosion of commits going on and a lot of activity there. To give a sense of scale for how we've been doing, at the time when we made the list for development cycle 1, we had about 600 requirements written out, and of those, about slightly more than a third, about 230, were ready to be developed, and I think we're on track to have those all more or less complete by the end of cycle 1. And as we're beginning to talk about planning for dev cycle 2, we have now in the range of 3,600 requirements. So since the last time we made a development cycle, a lot more of the game has been formally categorized and planned out in terms of what is actually needed to get all the things running correctly. So that's kind of about where we are. The main thrust of dev cycle 2 is probably going to be a lot more on the simulation end, the making of the game model, the number crunching part of the game. So to answer the question that Spud mentioned earlier about when's gameplay, it's coming. And that's kind of the quick roundup of where we're at. In general, I'm very pleased with how everyone's been taking to things, and I think it's very promising of future results.
Very nice summary, thanks for that. And we have you as the lead dev, and we also have a dev, singular, as well. Orwellian is just a dev who's also been doing some work with that. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, just a quick few things. A lot of the devs, particularly, have been getting used to Godot. Like, we're mostly C++ devs. The vast majority of, I think all of us are C++ devs, actually. And then obviously we're using an engine, and then people need to get familiar with it. And a lot of our devs have been doing that over this last dev cycle. So a lot of that has just been, a lot of this last month or so has been just people putting small little building blocks in place. So when we actually start the gameplay, like the dev cycle 2, when we actually start putting things in place, it's not just existing in a void somewhere. It's like something real and something that, while not necessarily functional, you guys could actually play around with a little bit. Something you can actually do and use, even if it doesn't work fully. Yeah.
Sounds great. So, I mean, we have this discussion, we have some people on the team. We might as well get into in-depth technical. How in-depth are we willing to go here, developers, in this discussion?
It depends how in-depth you're willing to handle.
Well, that's a very awkward question, but I mean, I'm not the dev. I don't know anything. So as a non-technical person, I just leave it up to you. So
I mean, something I want to do is something I'm really looking forward to is actually the navigation, where you click units and you can move them around different provinces and stuff. Because I did a project for that in uni recently, and I fell in love with it. So I want to really dig into a lot of the pathfinding algorithms, the way we represent the map in terms of data, and then how can the player access it. So I'm really looking forward to actually getting into a bit of that stuff. I don't know how much Zinc. I don't know how much Zinc wants to reveal to you guys just yet, but from a technical perspective, there's a lot of really cool things that are coming up. A lot of things we can dig into quite a bit. That I think will be really interesting for all the technical guys. I don't know how cool it would be for everyone else. So I'll just defer to Zinc there.
Yeah, so I can just touch a bit briefly on some of the technical areas that we're kind of going to be exploring as we'll be moving furthermore into the simulation end. So, as Orwellian said, a key portion of the game is having your units figure out how to move from point A to point B. To that end, we're probably going to be doing some variety of A-star or Dijkstra's shortest path pathfinding. In terms of the economic simulation, we're going to be using, or we intend to use a lot of techniques that are common in a lot of entity component systems. That's used in a variety of games, which is a developer speak for having similar data located close to one another in memory, so that your CPU, which is very good at processing and calculating numbers one after the other, can spend more of its time actually doing the number crunching and less of its time searching through its bookshelves of RAM to find the actual stuff that it wants to work on. And then in terms of networking, I won't speak too much on that because FakeByte will know better than I, but we're looking to have sort of fixed point representations for decimal numbers, so that, or I suppose fractional numbers, so that we don't have any ambiguity or difference in calculation across different systems, which is one of the contributing reasons why one might go out of sync in the original Victoria 2. And those are just sort of a sample of the kind of technical challenges or problem-solving approaches we're looking to try to implement. And if Youri or Orwellian, if anything, jumps out to you that I may have missed, jump right in.
I mean, the big thing is the engine. The way we're doing this is kind of structured in two different components almost. We have the Godot, which is like our UI and our front end. So like all the fancy stuff and the pretty things you guys will interact with.
The user interaction stuff.
Yeah. And then we also have, this is the really technical stuff, the C++ code, the simulation. That's going to be in a external almost library, a C++ library using Godot's fantastic GD extension system. So anyone worried about performance, don't worry. These things are a huge focus for us. We want to make sure this stuff is actually working. It's working well. Potato Computers needs to be able to run it. And we've got all of this stuff in mind. I don't know how familiar anyone here is with physics games in general, like when it comes to multiplayer and simulating complex environments. But they get really difficult. It's one of the reasons why Paradox has so many issues with oosing across all of their games. But that's something Zinc mentioned, the fixed point numbers. We really want to dive into that stuff, and we want to tackle it properly and make sure it's all working, if not seamlessly, as damn near close as we can get it. So,
yes. And just to extend on what Orwellian said, one of the benefits of having a somewhat segmented project structure where we have a lot of the user interface code sort of in a top layer in Godot and a lot of the simulation and game logic happening quote unquote underneath in C++ is that it can allow you to do a lot of fancy stuff. For example, if you wanted to run lots of observer games where you want to just sort of check to see how the AI behaves or how economies can work over time, theoretically we could have it so that you could run games in the background without needing any graphical components to them. Because I remember when we were doing some of the research on economic systems, we've found several very helpful posts. However, a lot of the restrictions on the people that were doing the economic research was just the simple fact that they were needing to run a lot of these games overnight to actually gather all the data that they needed. And if we're able to properly segment stuff, that could allow a lot of tools for people like that to run games perhaps in parallel, but without having to actually have it open and running on their second monitor or whatever it happens to be. But yes, that's.
I mean,
far.
also, this whole structure basically allows us to run a server-style multiplayer games. So,
Indeed.
So you can still have the traditional peer-to-peer hosting that Vic2 currently uses, but something we want in mind is you can basically put it on a server, and this server can act as like it should help dealing with OOS issues because it acts as a point of authority and it can decide if you're out of sync, what you need to do to catch up, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And this whole structure allows us to do that in a relatively like a plug and play model almost. You take out the economic sum, or you take out the graphic, the user interface, and you put in the server stuff. And everything still in the back end remains the same. We don't fiddle with things unnecessarily.
Yes.
Sounds amazing. That's really interesting stuff, though, really. And a question came to my head. So, Zinc, what is the last line of code that you wrote for OpenVic2?
Well, the last line of code I wrote is the for the forthcoming jukebox, specifically the part that allows you to select which song you want to play, the little drop-down menu there. So that's what I've been working on in terms of code.
That's interesting because that's a different topic we'll get to, which is the whole music aspect. And the music aspect will not just cover the music itself that's being put together, but a music player in the game and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Orwellian, I extend the same question to you.
To be completely honest, the last line of code I wrote was a print statement because I broke something and I had no idea what was happening. So I just, I literally printed out everything. But what I was focusing on was just to get refamiliarized myself with the engine was a dynamic credit system. So like when modders and the developers, these things are very fluid and they change all the time. We don't want it to be a static text file that just renders it. We want developers we want modders in particular to be able to add their own add their own names into the actual game and for it to work really well. And I broke that, so I needed to fix it. But
there's absolutely no shame in that. Fixing stuff, I'm sure it happens. It's just all the time in any developer.
It's part of the job. But yes, especially with a lot of the very ambitious like total conversion mods, a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into that, and so we want to be able to highlight and allow people to get the credit for the work that they've put into stuff. So that's what Orwellian has been doing good work on.
Youri, I think you're also actually a dev, aren't you, Youri?
Yeah. So initially I joined with the intention of being a dev, and that's still my intention. I just want to clarify. But for now, I'm mostly working on the website at work. Because there I'm actually getting paid to work on it. Yeah, so I think the last line of code I wrote there was to make sure that when you get like a dev diary, it will not just give you the dev diary, but also the categories associated with it.
Oh. Yeah, we just need more dev diaries. Come on, Catalyst.
Catch your wake up, eh?
That was a very nice summary of where the project's at in terms of coding and whatnot, as well as some nice in-depth stuff and info about the code that you've been recently working on, I think. I think that about covers that section. What do you think? What do you think, Jenny?
Oh, what do I think? Well, oh, sorry. Yeah,
Gonna wake you up.
No, I was listening. I was paying attention. I swear.
It just sort of looks. You've got your phone pointing at everyone up there in the top left. It just looks like you're taking a photo for your cringe compilation.
Yeah,
I'm putting on
my compilation of map gamers.
So the next section is actually huge. Let me just remind myself of exactly what it was called.
The suggestions.
Yeah, suggested changes, deciding what is in and out of scope and that sort of thing. And for this, all right, chat is. I'm about to wake up the chat here with a massive thing I'm about to shove on the screen. This is the suggested changes document. Is that what it's officially called, Youri?
Yeah, I guess. I think, yeah. Suggested diversions from Victoria 2 is what it's officially called right now.
So, I'll just give you the background on this. Throughout the entire project, right back from the early days when it was being put forward as an idea and whatnot, people have come forward with their suggestions. I mentioned this in the videos. as well. Loads of suggestions, lots of ideas, because this sort of thing naturally sparks people's creativity and what they'd like to see in the game. Modders, average players thinking, oh, I'd like to see lots of features. And as we move forward to having our official Discord, we opened up an actual more formal suggestions forum for people to put forward things in a way that would be more easily logged and taken note of, so that they can be ultimately worked on and looked at by the team. And that is exactly what has happened here. This is a magnificent piece of work that does a great example of showing code itself is behind the scenes stuff in a game. This is behind the scenes stuff. This is documentation and planning. And this is hugely important. And much like the requirements, it's a big thing. Lots of nice looking spreadsheets and stuff, as you can see. But yeah, now go ahead, Youri. Tell us all about this.
Okay. Yeah, so this document is basically, I just set this up pretty close to the start of the project, just as a way to keep track of all of the suggestions people are making. And this document specifically contains the kind of suggestions that we would actually be likely to actually implement at some stage. So I saw someone ask in the chat, what is Moscow? So Moscow is a sort of way to categorize these, the priorities for adding these kinds of diversions. And as you can see, a lot of them are in the won't have or could have category. So it's actually an acronym. That's what the M is for must have, S for should have, C for could have, and W for won't have. And as you can see, a lot of these suggestions are in could or won't have, and that's because they are changes from original Vic2. And we're actually not focused on implementing changes mostly. But yeah,
And
this
just to say, just because something has a won't have priority does not necessarily mean that it won't ever be present in the program, just that in terms of priority it's relatively lower.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the way
after 1.0.
Sorry, Youri.
Yeah,
I think the way it's generally described is anything that's in this list is like something we will consider. And then won't have is literally just it won't be for some specific release. And obviously the release in this case is just 1.0. So yeah, all of these things are completely, they're more than likely to come in later. We have a bunch of other spreadsheets as well with a bunch of other won't haves littered all over the place that are all being considered. Just at the moment, we don't think they're important for the base experience.
Yeah, exactly. For example, tooltip requirements are currently all in could have. And we are definitely planning on having tooltips when the game releases.
Yeah, this is huge. I mean, each individual one of these is something that could be discussed, and we won't get into that here because I foresee in the future we might actually do something more like a sort of discussion about these as a sort of stream. Maybe invite more people from Victoria 2 community, discuss it with the team, get real dialogue, a sort of meeting, either publicly on a stream or actual meetings. And of course, by text, posting this in that area within the community Discord where we share it with the Victoria 2 modders who can get that role. If you're a modder of Victoria 2, or even in some cases other Paradox games, you can get a special role on the community Discord, which allows you to get a channel, a direct channel between you and the dev team to keep the most important dialogue in the whole project, arguably. And this, so if you've made a suggestion and you wondered, I wonder where the suggestion went, it's on here. It's, there's a lot of things, and unfortunately I'm looking at my stream window. It's too small for me to read any of these right now, so I can't actually talk about any specific ones, and there's also massive descriptions. But yeah, this is also very important for the overall scope of the project. It is the scope of the project. Right?
Yeah, like you said, if you're wondering where your suggestion went, if either me or Joe responded to you or another dev responded saying that we would look into having this put into the game at some point, it's in this document. Someone in the chat just posted about coastal bombardments when battles are occurring next to a sea tile with ships in them, and that's currently at the bottom of the document. It was just put in, so that's how fast it can go.
I only have an image here. I can't show you there's a lot more than even are on this image, and furthermore, also importantly, the spreadsheet will still expand. More suggestions are welcome. More suggestions can come on here.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the stream right now and you can't read it that well, I think in the community server, in the pinned post in the suggestions forum, there's a link to this spreadsheet, and you can look at it as much as you like.
Yeah,
there.
I forgot to mention this spreadsheet is publicly available. Just go on the community server, and it's in the description of this stream. You can find it more quickly here, actually. It's in the description.
Even better.
You can read all those, and I need to make this bigger so I can actually see. Oh, I just threw it off the screen. Where is it fucking gone? I just wanted to, I dragged the corner.
Never know.
I dragged the corner and just flinged it off the screen. Oh, it's over. The thing's gone.
It's Jover, yeah.
The whole thing's been deleted. We don't have that spreadsheet anymore. But anyway, it's a very interesting topic. And I noticed, this is something that I myself can actually, really get into and talk about. My experience of the game and in multiplayer, and any player, and any modder, any Victoria 2 player, that's something to have a big dialogue with the team, as I said. What else about that?
Well, I think it's important to maybe address that if there's a change in here that we deem to be like disruptive or too big of a change from the original Victoria 2 experience, we will make it so that that feature can be toggled on or off by either the host or by the player before starting the game, just to make sure that if you're looking for the original Vic2 experience, you can still get that from OpenVic2. But if you want some of the improvements, you can toggle those. That's our intention, at least.
Yep. Some sort of similarly to how Paradox games have this rule set thing, where you toggle loads and loads of features.
Game
Yeah, I
rules.
imagine it being like CK2.
I'm glad you said CK2. Might even be my second favourite Paradox game behind Vic2, that one actually. But I haven't played it much. Anyway. I'm sure I had something on my mind to say just now. I'm sure I did. Well, if we don't have anything more to say about that suggestions thing, also I think my chat window is frozen, so my stream is just technically falling apart. The suggestions document went flying
Absolute
off.
shambles.
My chat. This is a typical YouTube streaming experience, but I like to do these streams on YouTube anyway. Because normally when I can't think of something to say, I would just look to the chat, but now my chat window's frozen, so it's over basically. Someone else has to take it away. This is why I need a co-host.
Would it make sense for us to go into the sort of open Q&A portion of the stream?
Absolutely. I think that does about cover it. And it's good that we're getting through this nice and quickly as well. I mean, that's fine. Makes for quicker view. Oh, my chat's
Remember,
back.
to all of you watching, your super chats will be read by the one and only Spudgun. So
That's true. We didn't really have any. That's fine, though. We didn't... other than questions that have been put in the chat, which I believe Orwellian has been taking a note of, there's no super chat questions. And unlike a previous stream, we don't have a Discord Q&A link thing either, so we can actually probably just end up taking live questions, if anyone has them, on the spot right now, as well as what Orwellian has already noted. Have you got them, Orwellian?
He's just posted them in general.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah. They're abbreviated, so I might need to clarify any of them. But they are there.
Well, I think we can... The first question is always going to be when, the when question. So we can... And it's the one we get every time, and it's the one we will answer to start with. When?
probably in the ballpark of 2 years.
For an alpha, I mean, I would say closer to a year for something playable, but a complete feature complete full release, that I would say is 2 to 3 years.
Yes. And it's just worthwhile saying that if you are very curious, you can always go to the public repository, download it, and build it yourself. If you want to get up to the minute updates on what the latest status is, you can dive into that to your heart's content.
Yeah, I mean, really an open project, OpenVic2. You can just go to the GitHub yourselves if you're more technically inclined. You can look at the GitHub and read some of the code or whatever. See the latest stuff. See the latest. What do the cool kids call them? Commits. Am I right, guys?
Yes,
Hold
indeed.
on.
You can go and look at the latest, and you can just ask anything in the community Discord at any time if you have a question. And yeah, members of the team are always around there to answer. In terms of, I mean, that's a little tangent there. So the next question was about optimization for potato PCs, and I believe that was already touched on in the update section. But if there's any specific notes we have on that, do we have any?
We talked a bit about sort of some of the techniques that we intend to use to try and keep things flowing or to keep the data and number crunching flowing at a good rate, and it's worth mentioning that what is considered a potato PC in the year of our Lord, 2023, would probably have been a very high-end computer in, I believe, 2012 when Victoria 2 came out.
2010.
So, 2010. Apologies, but so we've got sort of performance in mind, and by one of the reasons why we have the sort of robust requirement system that we do is so that we don't make any rash mistakes that later cost the end player any of their performance.
I think we do. Let's bring Jen back into the discussion. Wake up. We got a question from actually Kazda, a member of the art team,
Actually,
about the overall direction of
I
the art.
actually wanted to ask. I actually wanted to ask a question regarding optimizations for potato PCs.
Yes.
I was wondering if it would be possible, because what I know in Hearts of Iron 4, for example, a lot of the sprites or the models of the little soldiers, they cause a lot of rather heavy lag on some shitter computers like mine.
Yes.
Would it be possible to render the 3D models as 2D images, as an option?
That's interesting. I don't see a technical reason why we couldn't do that.
All right, sweet.
I think something to be aware of is if we were to do something like that, it would have to take place after the initial release, because in terms of optimization, that's graphically intensive, so that's dependent on GPUs. Whereas I think we're mostly focusing on CPU, like the simulation, because that's where Victoria 2 in particular is going to be. That's where it's a lot of its weight is going to be. So like doing all the economy calculations, all of those things. So yeah, I think graphical optimization is something we should be aware of. But you'd have to consult the rest of the team. But I think we should really be focusing on the simulation side. But
Spartan just added that Godot has automatic LOD for 3D models, so
even better.
For the listeners, LOD is an abbreviation for level of detail, and that means that there can be different levels of detail in a 3D model that can be applied under certain conditions. So in most traditional games, you'll notice it when there's a pop-in from the background coming from a lower level of detail into a higher level of detail. So that is something we could also support for the soldier models.
We've gotten NATO counters shouted out a lot in the chat, which is a HOI thing, and not really appropriate. I don't see that mixing in with the Victoria, and that's something that could already be modded into Victoria 2, I'm pretty sure. So if there was a demand for those, wouldn't there already be a mod for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that does sound like an excellent mod idea.
And obviously that's one, it's related to simplifying the 3D models for less intensive, just to have a counter. And I don't know, all these things definitely interesting to talk about going forward, and how we handle the people who have those potato PCs, which is very important.
Yes. And I'd have to check with to check with Bon Marsh, but at least if my memory serves, he said that the base soldier model was about 4,500 polygons, which is, in terms of 3D models, quite small. So
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really good.
yes, top-notch stuff.
The problem
So,
is that the
yeah.
end result of this might be that if you have a worse PC, we might have to take the uniforms off the 3D models because you can't render them and just have the naked 3D models running around if you have a
Yeah, that
potato
would help.
PC. Like the ones we saw on the Dev Diary and were on the last stream, where Catalyst brutally mocked me and saying this is a 3D model of Spud Gun, this nude model. And I couldn't respond. I didn't have a voice. I felt attacked and abused on that
No,
day.
you didn't respond because you knew it to be true.
Yeah, sounded-
Methinks the Spud doth protest too much.
I couldn't protest without permanently damaging my voice
And reputation.
and reputation. But what about that overall art direction question, Jenny?
Oh, regarding map textures and stylized realism, I've spoken to other artists about this as well, and what we're going to be going for is the same as the rest of the artwork. You know, like similar to Victoria 2, but upgraded for modern resolutions and stuff. So they'll probably look similar to those of Victoria 2. However, since it's just a texture map, so it should be pretty easy to like change them to anything you like. So there could be options for like cartoonish or like realistic textures for the map. But as far as I know, with the whole map, what we're going for is the same projection and such of Victoria 2.
Yep. I think if you have any question any questions about any direction could just be simply answered that counts for them all. Just as similar to Victoria 2, but upgraded for the modern system.
Modern age.
And
Yes.
improved. That's it. It goes for almost everything about the game. And we also did that basically answer this question about map texture style. That was answered there as well.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a question. So, and then we also answered backgrounds for tech at the time by not knowing what it meant. No, we did. We answered it. AI handling tech differently. That's an in-depth question about the AI, and so the question is more about for the scope, and this, if it isn't even on the scope suggestions document, it could be added, which is improving how the AI handles tech, but this would also lead on to how the AI handles anything, really.
Yes.
How do we think about that?
So, to just speak generally for a moment on the AI, the AI of Victoria 2, at least from what I've gathered from the research we've done, is probably one of the most difficult things to actually decipher about Victoria 2 and why they make all the decisions that they do. And as a consequence of this, that the AI behavior is probably where one might see, in some sense, the most diversions from Victoria 2. But we hope that the fact that we can't know for certain how the Victoria 2 AI handles stuff lets us kind of approach it in a new light and say, okay, how would a nation handle these sets of problems, and try and work from those principles. And so hopefully, if we do things correct, the AI should be more sensible and improved from what is in the original game. I believe Orwellian has some related knowledge or expertise in terms of kind of AI and decision trees, but in general, probably going to be different. So yes, hopefully AIs like Japan will take more sensible choices for their current situations.
Yeah.
I think just to add in there, I think something we want to focus on is I think Joe mentioned this in the first stream, is we want to capture the feel of Victoria 2 quite a lot. So it might not behave identically and it might not do the exact same things in the exact same situation, but we want it to feel like you're playing against the Victoria 2 AI. At least, you know, like there's an option to play against the same AI. Something I personally want to do is run a neural net through this thing to see how fancy we can get it. But like that's just the base game, the base like single player AI would be as identical or as close as we can get it to the original Victoria 2 experience.
The AI researches some silly things, and the endless question is: do we want to make the AI as silly in terms of its research choices as Victoria 2, or do we want to make them research sensible things? And that's going to, well, it's not, we're not going to give the final answer on that now, obviously, with, you know, we're not even close to having the AI in the development yet, and we'll have those discussions further in great detail later. But as of right now, I don't know. Do we want it to keep, you know, the same research choices? The multiplayer community has a meta for research. More single player oriented people probably have a different approach as well. And I don't want to force one view of tech onto the whole game on everyone. I don't know. Certainly interesting, the whole discussion though. Tech 1 for 1 or some renames. That was pretty much flintlock rifles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in general, probably the names will be staying the same, although there are a couple cases where they may be renamed slightly to be more clear of what the intention is. So flintlock rifles is kind of the prominent example so far, and in fact, it's the only one I can think of. But there may be a couple other renames, but
Yeah. Also, regarding the descriptions of tech, we'll probably have to change those at least slightly to avoid copyright. But let's not get into that.
we'll probably be changing that just for, you know, additional detail, accuracy, and flavor.
Yeah,
More
that's
so
another
for
kettle
any-
of fish with event descriptions and all those things as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I cut you off there, Zinc?
Nope.
All
not
right,
at
so there's a question about custom music, and I again refer you to what is going to be a future discussion or dev diary led by Catalyst, who is going to tell you all about that. He's really itching to get into the music stuff, I know that, and he'd love to tell you about that in a dev diary and a future stream. We'll get to that. And what have we got here? Change combat system to Hoi 4 style front lines. Well, no. No. That's short answer. I'm sorry. In a mod, obviously possible. In a different branch of the game in the future, yeah, sure. I would. I mean, I'm saying no to that right now for the actual OpenVic2. But in another mod or another version, iteration of the game, I'd love to try it out, actually. That sort of thing, definitely. But I don't want to force it on the entire game.
Yeah.
Right.
That summarized it pretty well.
What development methodology? Ooh, what's that?
It's a good question. I don't know if there's a specific name for what we're doing, because we're sort of a bit of a unique case, but we are an open source project with kind of a core team of developers. But, you know, if any of you enterprising viewers are out there and want to try your hand at, you know, making some contributions, there is in the repository a contributor quick start guide in the documents folder that you can follow to get a working build of OpenVic2 running, and you can poke around there and make your changes. And if your contributions make sense and we that they're high enough quality, we'll accept your PR and probably look to scout you.
And you can apply to be on the team at any time as well. Anyone.
Yeah.
Indeed, yes.
I think I also said earlier in the chat, we're going for we're trying to do agile as much as open source allows. So like sprints, requirement lists, you know, a bunch of things you can refer back to, developers and groups and teams. Just so if anyone's interested and they want to join, they kind of know what they're walking into. It's about as agile as you can get with open source.
Well, Next question. Will you be able to zoom all the way out? So it depends what you mean all the way out. One could interpret that to mean all the way out as far as you can already zoom in Victoria 2. Yes, but I assume you actually mean zooming even further to where you can fit the entire world map on the screen at once.
I don't see any technical reason why we couldn't be able to support that.
Yeah.
My question
that would
is,
be pretty cool.
why isn't that already possible in Victoria 2, to be honest? Why, actually, is it not?
Excellent question.
There might be some technical limitation there, right?
Yeah, that sounds like some sort of rendering issue, 2010's graphics cards. But I mean, I don't think that'll be too much of an issue, especially because Godot has a fairly robust camera system, which will be relying on a fair bit. So things like that, and even if we don't put them in the game ourselves, you can download the code. It'll probably be like 2 or 3 lines that you don't need huge amounts of technical skill to understand and able to execute yourself. You can play around with those sort of things.
Yeah, I think in the requirements somewhere it says that you are able to zoom out as far up until the point that you would start seeing the same part of the world twice, and then it would stop, I think. But that's obviously still subject to change. But
maybe we can implement this thing where you can go from, a stack on the ground to a province, to a state, to a country, to a continent, to the world, to the solar system, to the Milky Way, to the universe.
The
Local cluster.
You know those things where you zoom in and out of the entire galaxy down to an atom? We can do that. We're going to do that.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, that's in the scope of the project, I think. How to recreate the Vic2 economy? Well, that's a very massive question.
Indeed.
Any just general thoughts on how you're going to recreate the economy?
The sort of pithy answer is, one piece at a time. So we've been doing a lot of research, just like looking at what's already publicly available on things like the Victoria 2 wiki to try and get a sense of how things work. Obviously, we've been opening up the games, the Victoria 2 game, to try and examine this stuff as well. In addition to talking with people such as Spudgun or the modders that are very experienced with Victoria 2 and how its systems work in order to get a better sense of how the economy works. Although, as Youri mentioned earlier, we're looking to replicate the feel and the experience of playing Victoria 2, not necessarily every last detail. So one of the things that has sort of come up in discussions about economy and populations is like some of the weirdness that exists in the game as it relates to, say, like goods duplication between like a sphereling and its sphere lord, or how populations can be blocked from promoting into a new craftsman type, so they end up switching cultures or religions just to get a new job. There are things like that that may change, but in general, we've been taking a good look at all the stuff that works under the hood to try and get it as well understood as we possibly can.
I just want to make sure, as I was saying earlier about the suggested changes, that if anything like that comes along where you have the craftsman glitch or something, that if there is going to be a change, there's going to be a big transparent discussion, getting loads of people involved to assess it first anyway, in most cases. But it's really important, transparency of it and all that. And so we had a live question right now in the chat from Paige here, who says, is there a list of things that need to be done available anywhere so that if people want to get involved to try and make a small addition, if they don't have time to fully join the team? That's open source 101, it seems to me. Right, guys? What's the answer?
Yes, so I believe there has been a version of the Cycle 1 requirements that's been posted in the community server, although I can post it I can post it again. So in short, yes, it does exist. If you're having trouble finding it, just ping one of the team members, and we'll get you sorted out.
Oh yeah, there is that as well. That the team is always available. You can actually just ping. You can just go and ping a team member or the lead dev, or just ask in the community server. There is always that aspect, as well as official documentation that's lying around somewhere.
Indeed.
And game rules to adjust some suggestions. Already mentioned that. Probably yes. Map projection? Question mark. What's that? Which one? What's the map projection?
I think that is regarding whether we're going to map out the world on a globe like Schomburg's project did.
Or using Mercator or some other fancy thing I've forgotten the name of now. I think we're sticking to Vic2, so the Mercator as much as we can, even if it is inaccurate.
No butterfly world?
Consensus.
Yeah, we'll have to
triangle
work
world.
on the n-dimensional polygon world projections. Will be coming post 1.0.
Well, there you go. And could we do OpenCK2?
Hypothetically, yes, but that's not our current focus.
That's actually a serious point that I've probably said before at some point, which I think I wrote it somewhere in a Discord about this question. CK2 is just a more fleshed out, complete, game than Victoria 2. It's had way more DLC and updates and things attached to it. It's just the stars aligned in a sense for OpenVic2 to happen, but that's not there for CK2. CK2 is very much fine. There isn't I'm not a big player of it, and the community of it might disagree. They might have something to say, but it's fine, right? And there's nothing glaringly wrong with it that it would urge people, other than multiplayer. But multiplayer isn't that great a deal in a Crusader Kings game because it's not the best game for that. Of course, you still do have multiplayer.
Because the focus of Crusader Kings is more about the story of your dynasty and the characters within that that you play and encounter as you go along. Whereas in Victoria 2, it's on a larger scale in a sense where instead of having individual characters, obviously they're represented as pops, to kind of represent the scale of the industrial age.
And in terms of multiplayer, Crusader Kings has loads and loads of characters and countries at various levels everywhere. And if you play a multiplayer game of CK2, most of your interactions will still be with the AI anyway. Whereas in Victoria 2, you can fill up a large majority of the important relevant countries in the world. So your interactions will mostly be with players. And that's a big difference between multiplayer for those two games. And another thing in terms of the stars aligning for an OpenVic2 to happen is, we have to talk about it, the sequel. CK3, a lot of people have problems with it, but it is it's the same base sort of game as CK2. It keeps the whole system. Whereas Victoria 3 was a massive departure. And that has been one of the stars that aligned for an OpenVic2 to happen. That same desire isn't there for the Crusader Kings community. Not that OpenCK2 isn't an inherently bad idea or anything. It's fine. But it's just unlikely to happen. So, there were other questions posted in the chat during this whole Q&A section. If we just answer maybe a couple more of those and then wrap it up if we can find anything.
Sounds good.
Orwellian, you've been paying attention to any of those?
No, sorry, I got distracted. That's my bad.
That's
I'll
fine.
go scroll and look for them.
You're answering them in the chat, so people are getting their answers anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll just have a quick scroll up.
Zinc, do you want to take this Tyler's question, the most recent one? What methods are we using for bugs and stuff as lead dev?
Yeah, so we're having pull requests being reviewed before they get merged in, and especially when we start building out more of the simulation aspects of the games, we intend to have a lot of unit and automated testing to make sure that stuff behaves as we expect it to, especially over time as the sort of code base develops and matures. We intend to have a robust testing department to make sure that when things go wrong, we're aware of it.
Yeah, I'd like to also add to that every requirement that we write also has an acceptance criteria linked to it. And before every release, we will be going over all requirements and making sure that all of them are working correctly. And since the requirements are on such a granular level, it will be really hard for like a bug to slip through and not be noticed there.
In addition, one practice we're trying to adhere to is to, in comments, put the requirement ID for the code that implements it, so that if later down the road we run our tests and find out, oh, requirement X, Y, and Z are not complete, we can just Control F on the project and find out exactly where those things happen, and kind of go straight to the source.
And will there be 3D portrait models for pops to unnecessarily crank up my VRAM usage? You know what? Yes, let's add a 3D model to represent every pop. How about it, guys?
Yeah, we have to. We have
Jenny,
to at this point.
get on that.
You can use my pony models.
No, that'll be a
yes.
mod. You can make a mod.
Yeah.
You can make your pony mods, whatever.
Yeah,
it's
I'll
fine.
make Equestria at War in OpenVic2.
Is that mod? I remember that from years and years ago. This My Little Pony mod for Victoria 2. I assume it's not being developed these
There is
days.
one. I have to know about it.
Wait, you don't know?
No, I didn't know.
She doesn't know?
I know there's the Hoi 4 one, but I didn't know.
Maybe
there
I was
a
thinking of the
Vic
Hoi 4
2.
one. I'm sorry. I don't know if there is a Vic. I think I could have sworn that there is. Basically, I don't
Surely
know.
Victoria 2 has the obligatory My Little Pony mod.
Emperor Malgus asks, will there be a Mogus event? Again, everyone's coming out with the references to the other game, the latest game, that has the 3D portraits and the Among Us events.
That would be very suspicious, but I don't believe there's an intent to have a murder mystery event, although that is something that would be an excellent mod idea. So
You just
put it
took the
in
words
if you
out of
so
my mouth.
desire.
It doesn't have to be a murder mystery event mod. I mean, you can have, with the level of modding scope, modding capabilities, I've gone into rants about potential ideas like this before, but with the ability to make either completely different branches of the game or a mod, you can have an entire sort of Among Us style mini game in Victoria in some way. Countries doing this and that.
I'm not sure why, but yeah.
There was Veilfisk, was it, made an Among Us Victoria 3 video where they had some sort of challenge or something. I didn't watch the entire thing, but it's some ideas like that can be put into mods and stuff. And the doors are. We hope that when this comes out, the doors are wide open for all sorts of creative things to be
You can
modded.
play Tetris while you're in the lobby.
Yeah. Now there won't be any unnecessarily long waiting in the lobby anymore. There won't be such a desire for mini games in the lobby.
Play Victoria 1 in the lobby.
Someone mentioned that a Tetris mod was created for a game. Was it a
I believe it was
Paradox game?
CK2.
Yeah, someone made Tetris in CK2, right? When was this talked about? I talked about this with someone at some point.
I believe it was on one of the previous discussion streams, but
Yeah, it could have been. CK2 Tetris
misremembered
mod.
there.
Yeah, so we're going to make Tetris for OpenVic2. That's the last thing we're going to say. I think that about wraps it up for this, though. A nice solid, roughly hour and a half of stream. Very good. We got through all the topics nice and quickly and got a nice loads of questions. And it's been very interesting, all these insights from these wonderful people on this discussion and me.
Yes, thank you very much for having us, and everyone for your questions.
Yes, indeed. Thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having me on the stream.
Yeah,
it's great fun
I sincerely thank the four of you for being on and taking the time to do this stream, as well as the time that you're putting in to the project itself. I thank you, and all the people watching thank you, and everyone who's interested in the project, Victoria 2 players and whatnot. They're all greatly appreciative as well. Thanks, guys. Oh, well, forget it. No, you're welcome. Okay. Alright, get off my stream.
Just been here.
No, but thanks so much, guys. I mean, any last points anyone wants to make before you go?
I am so sleepy.
I did just see an interesting question in the chat.
Alright, quickly. Let's do this question.
I think it's better for Zink to answer it.
Yeah, so I'm afraid I don't know how to properly pronounce his name, but he asked, since the code is open, will modability be reduced and thereby put the expectation on modders to change the code? So, in short, no. We intend to support modding in a similar way to that people are used to for Victoria 2 in terms of having, scriptable events, data, and other such things. However, if you wanted to make a more ambitious mod and the tools we're providing just aren't cutting it anymore, then yes, you would have the ability, if you wanted to, not necessary, but if you wanted to, you could go in and implement whatever feature you're missing in code. So that's the short of that. In terms, I see a little follow-up that the modding for Vic2 is rather primitive, and it would be good if the sort of modability was able to be updated to like CK2 levels. Yes, that is something on our radar to try and expose more to the control of a modder, so that there aren't just certain things that you can't touch. And there have been some suggestions from the our much esteemed modders for some of those convenience features, like better ways to compare things, and so it's definitely on our radar. And I hope that everyone will be satisfied with our the system that we produce, so that if you're wanting to mod in the style of your forefathers, you can. But if you're wishing to do something really crazy, you can also, get your hands dirty.
All right, nice little question to end us there. Well, I've already thanked you, but thank you all again for being on the stream, taking the time in that, and thank the viewers for tuning in, either live or watching it later, as it's going to be publicly just on my main channel. Yeah, I'll see you guys later on the team. We're going to do future discussions and loads of... I'll see you around on the community Discord. Join the community Discord. Everyone in the chat, join it. Check it out. Check out all the work.
Subscribing to Spudgun, yes.
Yeah.
Subscribe to
Thank you for
Spudgun for
having
more
us.
updates about this project and whatnot, and for my actual normal content and whatnot.
Of course, can't miss that. Best part of my every Friday when he uploads.
He doesn't know I'm not releasing a video tomorrow.
Oh no.
It's over.
Does he know?
Oh.
Subscribe to the Patreon for additional clips.
It's true. Oh shit! I need to make that additional clips I promised for the Aragon thing. I'll do that tomorrow morning, maybe, or tonight. I'll do it after the stream right now. Thanks for the reminder.
No problem.
Okay, thanks again, guys, and that's it. Goodbye.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for having us. All right.
Bye.
Cheers.